Hello, and welcome back to episode 4 of the Rejects of Capitalism podcast. My name is James Rooney.
And I'm Shane Turner.
And today is going to be a bit of a, how would I say, a bit of a break in what we were usually doing. And it's mostly, as Shane described it, it's mostly going to be a rant session from Shane about a subject that is personally affecting him and he feels really strongly about. So, Shane, can you take it away?
All right. So basically, and by the way, James, don't be afraid to jump in at whatever time. Basically, today we're going to talk about welfare. And we're going to talk about what welfare does for people, what it does negatively for people, and what we can do about it. Now, the reason it affects me personally is not only did I grow up in a family on welfare, but I also am currently on welfare. And there was a time where I was not on welfare, and I know the differences between living off of welfare and living on welfare, and I know which I prefer. Spoiler alert, it's welfare, but not for the reasons you think. Now, even in my family, even though like my family grew up on welfare.
Before you continue, I'm starting to wonder, what other reasons would you like welfare? Like, I think there's like one core reason, like, hey, you can live.
But here's the thing, though. Most people, especially conservative, and I was about to say, like, even my family, even though I was raised on welfare, key members of my family are opposed to welfare because they think that it causes dependency.
Myth of capitalism, really.
Yeah, and I've actually heard a lot of people say, "Oh, the I don't like welfare because of the welfare queens. I don't like people because drug users are on them, or drunks are on them, or because there are women who use it to have multiple children."
You know what would disagree with that? Facts.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was so cringy. The way it did.
No, but basically, like, I used to talk with my older brother. My older brother is opposed to welfare, and I'm staunchly supportive of welfare. And the reason I support it and my brother opposes it is, ironically, both because of witnessing how my mother needed it. Now, my older brother would say that, like, my mother was a key example of what's wrong with welfare. And
like, I shouldn't have been on it, or what?
More than like my mother, my older brother thinks that my mother took advantage of welfare. But having studied it and having studied what actually went down, I understand that my mother didn't take advantage of it. She needed it. But therein lies the problem. Welfare is reserved for the most desperate of Americans, the poorest of the poor. And
people at the bottom rung.
Yeah, and I make less than $20,000 a year. So I am one of them. And prior to October of 2021, which was only a few months ago, I was not on welfare. I had to rely solely on my own income. Like, the only thing that I had to support myself other than my own income was student loans and grants. And that's only during college semesters. And I can tell you that living, like my mother died more than 3 years ago. And since then, I had to live on my own. Prior to her death, I was living with her. Since then, I've had to work every day. I've had to pay my own rent, pay for my food, pay for my bills, everything. And oftentimes, like, I had to go without many things. And I have to say that, like, living like that way without any help, it fucks with you. Like, I had such a horrible sense of mental health. Like, I was under an intense amount of stress. I had severe depression, and I still do, actually, but I'm in a better place now than I was then. Why? Because then I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from. I didn't know whether the next month or another I was going to be homeless. The only thing I had at the time was Medicaid. And even now, I'm at a point where I don't know if my Medicaid is going to continue, or at least my mental health Medicaid.
No.
I'm still going to have coverage, but I'm in between mental health clinics, and simply searching for a new clinic is incredibly stressful.
I could imagine, like, just finding a professional. Like, I'm having trouble finding a new doctor myself. And
The key problem in America is that since we have a private healthcare system, the first question you have to ask any potential doctor is, do you take my insurance? And that right there is a reason against private healthcare.
Yeah.
Because when you're looking for a doctor, you shouldn't be worried about whether they take your insurance.
You shouldn't be shopping for it.
Exactly. You shouldn't have to shop for a good doctor. A good doctor. You should be able to have healthcare, regardless of regardless. But that's not the topic for the day. Today we're talking about welfare.
Right.
Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the history. Most modern welfare has its roots in the New Deal of FDR and the Great Society of LBJ. Most of it from LBJ, I think. But Reagan in the 80s dismantled a lot of the welfare that was existing at the time.
One of the many reasons that leftists like us absolutely despise Reagan.
Yeah, he was literally the devil, basically. But he did one good thing when it comes to welfare.
He did?
There was one good thing that Reagan did when it came to welfare.
Shows my bias.
Ever since the Great Depression, the United States has been subsidizing farmers, especially dairy farmers. And for many decades, we've had stockpiles of cheese because you can't store milk long term. So the only thing you can really do with it is turn it into cheese and refrigerate it. So the government by the 80s had large tons of stockpiles of what became known as government cheese. Seriously, this isn't even a joke. Like, there was literally a thing called government cheese.
I know you're not joking, but I can't imagine what this would be used for. Like, is this what the subsidies came in?
I'm sorry? It was like American cheese. It was like Velveeta, basically.
Oh, okay.
It was like it was like American cheese. Like you slice it, basically. You have slices of it. And what Reagan ended up doing is that he wanted to cut welfare, but he got into like opposition. So the one thing he did was he said, okay, you know what I'll do? I'll just give out the reserves of government cheese that we have to the poorest Americans.
Oh my God.
He literally, I'm sorry?
I said, oh my God.
Yeah, he literally gave away government cheese to poor people. That was the only good thing he did when it came to welfare.
I'm sorry, that broke my brain a little bit. Reagan giving out food to poor people.
I know, it's a mind fuck. It's like you don't imagine.
Me no like.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like one of the things that, like, oh, the devil showed me how to do it kind of thing. It's like one of those most ironic, out of nowhere kind of things.
Yeah, that's God.
Now, today, most people get welfare through, like, they get food welfare from SNAP benefits, right. Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program.
Plan.
Yeah.
I think.
SNAP
the P is for plan, right?
The what?
The P is for plan, right?
I think the P is for program, actually.
Program, that's right.
Yeah. So now in today's day and age, most people get their SNAP benefits through something called an EBT card, which stands for electronic benefits transfer.
Okay. That's
now I've had my own EBT card since I started on Medicaid, which was back in 2018. but I was never able to get like food stamps on it until like November. Now, food stamps basically means that you have like a monthly or bi-monthly stipend of like $250 basically for one person. You go to the grocery store, you buy groceries with it, and you have food at home, basically. You
Right.
can buy food with it. Now, there's certain things you can't do with it. Usually you can't go into a restaurant and buy a meal with it. You can't
Right.
buy prepared hot meals. And I think in New York, they're starting to change that. I remember reading about a law that Governor Hochul passed that I fully support, that says that like certain like veterans or homeless people can go to like restaurants and get like a meal with it. I don't know the details of it. I can actually
Okay.
look it up. Let me see. New York State restaurant.
So yeah, I'm thinking about like, oh, New York is taking this monumental step to allow homeless people and veterans to go to a restaurant with EBT. And in
Well,
my
here's the
mind,
thing. I Googled New York State restaurant food stamps, and there is something from October 2021. It's called Senate Bill S64.
okay,
And it allow homeless, disabled, and elderly New Yorkers who receive food stamps to use their benefits to buy reduced price meals from participating restaurants.
okay, but I think about this monumental step, and I think to myself, why not? Like, food is food.
Because there was always the concern that like if you could buy meals with it, that you could take advantage of it. But
Take advantage of it how? That's the point. Like,
because there's this whole thing that eating out is like a luxury.
why?
That's the thing I don't know.
It's eating. It's eating.
Yeah.
Like,
Because people know you're gonna buy fucking lobster with it.
Here's the thing. Number one, lobster is a fucking chore. Don't do it.
It's a fucking what?
A chore.
Lobster is a chore?
Yes. I've eaten lobster before. It is a chore to eat. Don't do it.
Well, I mean, I have
no
desire to eat crustaceans or shellfish because they look fucking disgusting, especially oysters. Jesus Christ.
Well, my second point was I am a person of means comparatively. And the most I do when it comes to luxury is go out to Fridays. Like that's the worst I do.
What, TGI Fridays?
Yeah, that's like my favorite place.
I've never been there.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Next time I'm in Hicksville, you should take me.
So yeah, that's the worst I do, and I am comparatively a person of means. I'm saying that in big air quotes for people who have the screen blacked out.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, as someone on food stamps, like when I buy things like meals or whatever, like from a restaurant, most of the time it doesn't exceed $30 for me. Like when I like buy food, like usually it's because I'm working as a busker and I need to like keep myself like energized and be able to perform.
Right.
And usually that doesn't cost more than $30 at a time. Like $30 is like me being frivolous.
And I think a Friday's bill is like right around that for like two people.
Look, there are days where I live off of dollar slices and Red Bull. That's like $5.
And here's something that's considered a hot meal. Like
pizza.
Do people realize what kind of misnomer hot meal is? Like, oh, it's a meal that is hot. It doesn't imply inherently. It doesn't imply like, oh, it's luxury. No, it's fucking hot.
Look, here's the thing. A lot of people think that people on food stamps shouldn't be buying hot foods, but they have no idea how important it would be for them to just buy a fucking rotisserie chicken. Because poor people, a lot of people
I
don't
can feed
realize.
a family of 4.
Yeah.
One chicken.
Here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize, they think that poor people don't have jobs. Poor people often are the hardest working people in the country. The
Absolutely.
reason you think that they're lazy is because you either have like this judgment against them based on your own livelihood, or you don't realize their living experience. And that's another thing we're going to get to, because we're going to talk about the numbers and how it forces poor people to often live off the books because it's the only option to viably live. But if like a Costco rotisserie chicken that
Right.
can feed one person for like 3 meals, basically, it
Yeah.
can feed a family for a night.
Mhm.
And that's like $5. That's not a luxury.
Yeah. Anything $5 is now a luxury unless it's like water.
Like there are like poor people do not go out and buy caviar. They do not go out and buy like porterhouse steaks or whatever. I haven't had a steak in like years, I think, at this point.
Hey, I can cook a mean one.
So gonna like there was this one time where I bought like $3 like a $3
Chop
pack from
steaks?
like a shop fair, like minute steaks.
Oh, okay.
That was the closest thing I had to a steak. That was the last time I had a steak, was a fucking minute steak that I doused in olive oil, salt, and pepper, and just fucking put it on a George Foreman grill.
Hey, at
That
least
was
you knew how
back
to season it.
that was back in like 2020, like August 2020, the last time I had one,
Oh my god.
when I had a George Foreman grill. Like right now, I live in an apartment without a kitchen. I rent a single room for $800 a month. And what do I live off of? The things that I have a microwave, a mini fridge without a freezer, and I have a kettle.
A kettle.
A kettle, electronic kettle. Singular kettle. Hell, I can show it to you.
And as you're off screen, my god.
This
for
is my
those
kettle.
for those who don't have the screen, that's a coffee kettle. And
Coffee kettle.
And that right there really showcases how unequal these things are. Comparing just me and Shane, I don't have a job. I'm not working.
I mean, technically, neither do I. I'm a busker, but I'm self-employed. I file taxes.
Yeah, you're self-employed. You're self-employed, but I'm not doing anything. But I got a house.
Well,
I got a stove. Like I don't think we don't differ that much in age, and I got almost anything a person could ever ask for. Meanwhile, you got Shane over here, who is working his ass off, and he can afford a single room.
That's another thing we're going to talk about, housing. But here's another thing. Here's what happened recently. I got into an argument with my landlady because I wanted to buy a mini fridge with a freezer.
All right.
Currently, the only mini fridge I have is the one that's provided with the room.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. You want to guess?
She said no. And
want to know why?
Why?
Guess why?
It would lead to an increase of the rent or something.
Well, not exactly.
Oh,
basically, okay. She said that like a mini fridge with a freezer would use more electricity, which would raise her electricity bill.
She can fuck off.
Well, I mean, I don't have any rights in the situation. I know,
and that leads to the fuck off part.
But here's the thing, though. In addition, she doesn't have room for the original mini fridge. So she said, "Oh, if you want a new mini fridge, you're gonna have to pay for the old one in addition to a new one." Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's gonna have to throw it out, and then because that's her property, not mine, etc.
And meanwhile, going back to the comparison, I have a full-size fridge and freezer, and meanwhile, you got a mini fridge with no freezer.
There were like before I moved to the city, I had a fridge with a freezer that was provided with the apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like live off of freezer dinners. But now I can't even live off of that because I don't have a freezer.
Yeah.
You know what I've been eating for protein for the past few days?
Oh, please, please anger me more.
Sliced turkey.
Sliced turkey, like deli
I
turkey?
haven't even been. I'm sorry.
Like deli turkey?
Deli turkey, Oscar Mayer deli turkey.
Son of a.
Like hell, I've been so fucking like lazy. I haven't even been making them as sandwiches. I've literally just been eating the slices with my hands.
When it comes to me, I'm diabetic. That's what I should be doing.
I mean, it's very like Oscar Mayer turkey is very good, actually.
Oh yeah.
Like I get it off at like Target for like $5 a box or whatever, and it's like
I go
like
for deli meat, and that's what I pick up. Like, I don't get any other brand like this. Oh, that's the deli meat, the Oscar Mayer
There's
shit.
also Boar's Head, like you got good brands out there.
Well, here's the thing: when I say deli, I mean something that's sliced and it's meat. Like,
Well, I mean, you
we
have Oscar
barely
Mayer,
go
and then you
to
have
the
Boar's Head.
deli.
Well,
You're
when
saying?
I go to a bodega, they usually have like Boar's Head on display.
Right.
Anyway, so
I
we're
don't know
getting
why
off.
we go ahead.
No, you were saying something.
I don't know why we never get Boar's Head. Like, it's not like an outspoken brand loyalty. It's just we just end up picking Oscar Mayer. I don't know what it is.
Every time I think of Oscar Mayer, I think of like this reference to that brand in an 80s home transphobic song. Apparently, like, yeah, there was this song that my dad like this, like the only rap song that my dad likes, and it's from this guy named Tone Loc from the 80s. And you know how the 80s were.
Mm-hmm.
So like this guy Tone Loc took a Foreigner song as like the backtrack and talked about and made this rap song about this drink called Funky Cold Medina. And basically it was like the best, like it was the only drink apparently that could get you women, basically.
No.
So
no.
in one verse, like the Tone Loc is rapping about a date with a woman, and they have like the Funky Cold Medina, but then he realizes that the guy was trans, that the woman was trans.
Yeah, Tone Loc, more like tone deaf. God damn.
No, but the guy's like, the verse was like I ain't fucking around with no Oscar Mayer wiener.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so bad. Get it out of my head. No.
Just to fuck with you, I'm gonna send you that song later.
You know what? Please do.
Because it is a bop, but like now, because it is a bop, but like at this point, I can't even listen to it anymore, knowing that he sung that. It's like
right.
You gotta be the girl is pure for the Funky Cold Medina. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're getting off topic. Let's go.
For those who are listening to audio only, that was just me visibly shivering in cringe and no. Yeah. Going back to the topic. I'm the one ranting.
All right. So I don't know if I said before, but before I was on EBT, I was under a ton of stress because I had to pay for everything.
Right.
And like a lot of people say, oh, but that's life. You have to pay for stuff, but you have no idea. Like if you're poor, you're under more stress than normal.
Because being poor is expensive. Believe it or not.
Like I once said to someone that the problem with being poor is that you have no money.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't, like, you'd be surprised how many people don't realize, like, being poor is expensive.
Right. Like I have this analogy, like just it completely changed my perspective. It's called the boot analogy. You
Yes,
picture
is
two
that
people.
two?
Can I explain,
One
please?
person is able to. I think I know this one, right?
Let me
You say
explain it.
you say it.
So you got two people. One who buys a $10 pair of boots and another a $50 pair of boots, 50 pair of boots. And with the $50 pair, that's going to wear out in like 5-10 years before the person has to buy another. But the one who has to buy the $10 pair of boots, that's probably going to wear out in 6 months.
Yeah.
So what happens is the one who bought the $10 pair has to keep buying the $10 pair every single time it wears out. Meanwhile, the one who bought the $50 pair one time still has that one pair. So you record this over time, the poor person is going to end up spending more money than
But
the
we'll
one
still have
who,
holes issue.
yeah. The poor person is going to end up spending more money than the one who bought the $50 pair. It's cheaper to have more money, literally. When you have more, you spend less because you can buy better quality.
Not only that, by the way, I'm actually, my own experience, that is exactly true. But the difference is that it's not $10 boots versus $50 boots. It's $70 boots versus $300 boots. Last year, about like 15 months ago, I bought a pair of boots from a company called Dirty Laundry off of Amazon.
Okay.
And I thought originally they were leather and rubber or whatever, but apparently they lied about that. And these boots kept breaking down. And I had to keep repairing them. I had to keep like putting new parts on or buying new ones. And it got to the point like I bought new sole, like actual like Vibram rubber soles for these boots. But the boots kept falling off, but the soles kept falling off the boots. And I took it to the cobbler like 2 weeks after he like
You
after
actually
he
went to a cobbler?
multiple times actually.
Oh, wow.
And at one point he just said like, oh, I can't do anything with them anymore because it's not actual leather. That's why it keeps ripping. And I'm like, oh, fuck this. I got to get myself actual leather boots.
And that's the thing. Going back, like I just said, oh, you actually went to a cobbler. I've never been.
Like I've been to cobblers my entire life, but here's the thing. Like I spent $70 for that original pair of boots. I spent $200 just to repair it over time. So you know what I did afterwards? I went to fucking Doc Martens. And
you bought the expensive pair.
Yeah, $270 for one of these. I spent an extra $10 for the fucking sorry. Oh. An extra $10 for the Wonder Balsam, which like gives it like the it conditions the leather and puts
again for those who are listening audio only. I was laughing in Schadenfreude about Shane falling back into his chair. I'm a horrible person, I know.
I'm saving up for a better chair. Right now, I'm just using like this black folding chair with no cushioning. So
yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So basically, I bought like for $270, I bought the Doc Martens. And for an extra $10, I got the Wonder Balsam, which they told me use it on your boots every month and it'll condition and waterproof your boots and it'll keep them in good shape for years to come. And I've had them for a few months and they're still holding up strong.
Yeah.
The only issue I had originally was that I had them in the wrong size, so I kept breaking the zippers. So I brought them back, and then eventually I realized, no, I got it a size too small. I got to wear a size 11 instead of a size 10.
Right.
And that took care of the zipper problem.
And going back to the main issue,
Yes.
Uh, I'm go. I kind of want to introduce this back. We brought the analogy of being poor is expensive, and it goes back to the point of what Shane is, I think, about to say about EBT is that to give everyone, a financial floor to stand on, you are advocating for the expansion of EBT.
Now, this is something we are talking about, yes, but here's the thing we have to note. I've had conversations with conservatives who think that giving people money turns them into dependents and turns them into people who will take advantage of the system. Now, yes, there are people out there who are content to just sit on their asses all day and do nothing.
Right.
But let me tell you something. I've been inside for this blizzard and I'm already jittery. Like human nature, like most people want to have their lives that actually mean they don't want to be bored. They want to actually do something, whether it's work.
That's the thing that these conservatives don't take into account: human boredom. We get bored.
And I actually had, I started going on Facebook again recently, and I got into conversations with an old conservative friend.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. Because I'm
Don't
fucking bored.
Care about your mental health?
I did it because I was bored and because Twitter and TikTok were going silent on me.
There you go.
So I started these, and also because I also started looking into places to rent, and the main place I go is Facebook Market.
Right.
So I started having conversations with this old conservative friend, and he said if we got rid of the universal the expanded unemployment that we got after COVID, it would force people into getting jobs again. And I'm like, I told him, no, like you are literally advocating for people to be coerced into working bad jobs.
And that's the thing. We did that. It didn't work.
And not only that, I had the proof to tell him, you're actually wrong. Paying for people not to work actually helps them to work. Mm-hmm. Like he thought like, oh, if we pay people not to work, they're not going to work. That's not true. We have proof of this. One of the big things that has been one of the big policy ideas that have been growing for capitalism is the UBI, the Universal Basic Income. And there are multiple studies, most of them successes. But there's one in particular that showed tremendous, like striking success. By the way, I want to also apologize to James. James wanted this to be a short episode. It's not looking like it's going to be because we've both been rambling on this episode, so it's not just me.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's literally James just texted me over like under the Zoom thing. Are you
supposed to be discreet?
Well, I can't multitask really, so sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
Anyway, so there was a UBI experiment out in Oakland, California.
I think we can wrap up with UBI for the next 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, we still have to do the numbers because that's the shocking part.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was a UBI in Oakland, California that gave Black people $500 a month for 2 years.
It was specifically Black people?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, okay.
And this started in February 2019. $500 a month, 2 years, no strings attached. The result, within a year actually, the result was that it measurably improved participant job prospects, financial stability, and overall well-being. Like literally at the end of the program's first year, it found that like giving 125 people living below the median household income, they gave them like $500 a month from February 2019 to February 2020.
Okay.
And you know what they found? They found that full-time employment increased among those who received that UBI. Not only that, but their financial, physical, and emotional health massively improved.
By how much did it increase?
Well, for one thing, it like there are some of the there's some of the like key parts. 37, most people spend 37% on food, 22% on home goods, clothing, and shoes, 10% on auto costs, 11% on utilities, and less than 1% was spent on alcohol or tobacco.
Yeah. And that's the point we're trying to make about me. It's general UBI. Like, I believe in getting rid of every single program and replacing it with UBI. And Shane believes in expanded EBT.
Well, I
That's
also
the
believe in
point.
UBI, but it's like not like $500. But here's the thing: this particular UBI it was called Seed, I believe.
Seed.
I believe so. I'm looking at the Twitter thing, and it has
Thematically appropriate.
captions, and it says those who received a guaranteed income of $500 a month went from part-time to full-time employment, and more than twice the rate of those who didn't.
And that's what both of us are saying when we need to basically expand general benefits of the working poor. When you give people money, like just no strings attached money, period, you improve their lives to a point where they want to work.
Yeah, like look what happens to this is what specifically happened to many of the people who received this UBI in Oakland. Most of them were working part-time shit jobs. They didn't have time to take time off to look for better jobs. They didn't have the luxury of finding a better job, because that's what a lot of like the conservatives say. It's like, oh, just find a better job. There are jobs out there. But if you're working a part-time job, you don't have time to take time off. And a lot of these people also don't have cars. They don't have good suits. They don't have the ability. The UBI gave these people the ability to take time off from a crap job to go to a job interview. It gave them the money to pay for transportation. It gave them the money to buy a decent suit so that they could look presentable in a job interview.
And the thing about looking for a job is it's really a full-time job.
Yeah.
The act of looking for a job. So if you don't, like, if you're on the fence on the concept of UBI, just think of it as you're already paying somebody for something they do for free. You are paying somebody to look for a job. You're paying somebody to better themselves. And
well, it's not just that.
Let's hold on. Let's say this hypothetical government you run, let's say you're frugal. Like, we would prefer that you continue the payments, but even let's say that UBI gets that person a full-time job. You could stop. It's not ideal, but that UBI helped them get a full-time job. Like, there's room for compromise here.
Well, here's the problem with stopping after the person succeeds. That brings us to the other part of welfare, and that is income caps.
Income caps. Yep.
Now, I've done the research on this, and income caps makes welfare a trap, because the caps for income are often so low that you can't, like the cap where you lose out your benefits are too low for you to effectively age out of them.
Yeah.
James, do you want to know the maximum income for an individual to have Medicaid?
Oh, do tell. Do tell.
Yearly.
Can I be even more angry today?
Yes, you may, because that's the point of this.
Yep.
The maximum income for one person in order to qualify for Medicaid is a yearly income of $17,775.
That's under half like a retail job. I used to work a retail job. I think I was getting like close to $30K a year.
Not only that, but the maximum income in New York for a person to have SNAP benefits. This
Go
is a
ahead.
bit more complex, but for the sake of conversation, I'll
Right.
explain in a minute why. But the maximum income for one person in order to receive food stamps is $19,300.
19,000. I can't even think of a job that pays that low. At the top of my head. I'm sure there are, but
Well, bearing in mind that the national minimum wage is not $15. It's been like $7.25 for literally like 20 years or so, and we've been fighting for a $15 minimum wage for so long that $15 is no longer a living wage. $25 is.
yeah.
Like inflation has
Yeah,
been
25,
fucking killed
27.
them. At this point, like a living wage is not $15; it's $30 an hour, and poor people are being fucked in this country, basically.
Yeah.
And and the only benefit that I found out about that actually pays somewhat closer to livable levels is Section 8 rental assistance.
Really?
The maximum income for Section 8 is $41,800.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna
That's actually really good.
yeah, I'm gonna look into getting Section 8 now, because like finding that out, because like I need rental assistance. Like $800 a month.
I would have qualified for Section 8. Jesus.
Yeah. Like I'm paying $800 a month for a room without a kitchen, with only a mini fridge and bathroom access. And get this, I recently, because I started having disagreements with my landlord about like basic things, like she doesn't want me to report my rent to the food stamp people, because she also has food stamps.
Oh.
Yeah. So if I report it, she loses her benefits, but if I don't report it, I lose my benefits.
Ooh.
So now
Oh god, that is the most horrific catch-22 I've ever heard.
So now my only option is to look for another room to rent. And I started doing that. And you know what I noticed?
What?
Many landlords there is a New York standard of requirement for rent. Most landlords will require you to earn 40 times the rent. No matter how low the rent, they will want you to be able to cover 40 times it in a year. They want your yearly income to be 40 times the rent. Why? Because it adheres to the old rule that you should only pay a third of your income to rent, which is outdated.
Like 40 years or more outdated.
It's so outdated that even Elizabeth Warren's like alternative to that rule, the 50-20-30 rule, that also is outdated now. Like the 50-20-30 rule is that you pay 50% of your income to necessities, 20% for your debts, and 30% on everything else. I don't have enough money to pay my debts. Like I barely make enough to survive.
Yeah.
Like anything I want, I have to save up for.
Mm-hmm.
And harshly so. Now,
but
here's
you
the thing,
don't have enough holes on the belt to tighten,
Yeah. And you know what's really fucked up is that, like, yeah, I'm a little overweight. I've got a dad bod. But there are all these idiots, all these conservative idiots who on TikTok, whenever I talk about how bad capitalism is, they'll say, "Oh, this obese motherfucker talking about capitalism being bad when he probably milks the system."
Yeah, it's called a food desert.
Yeah, like, and not only that, I'm only like 30 pounds overweight, and I've been that way for many years. Like, I'm living off of sliced turkey without bread. Like, no, I am not fucking obese. I mean, yeah. I don't know if James, if you want me to show anything on this camera.
No.
Then I won't. But if I'm obese, every man with a dad bod is obese, which is fucked up.
And just to explain really quickly what a food desert is, it's a sociological term saying how it is a neighborhood or a region that is devoid of nutritional food. Like I go to a food share in Wyandanch. Um, it it fits the classification to a T. There's not even a McDonald's around. Not a chain to speak of. But there's like bodegas. That's
But let me
kind
tell
of
you
it.
something. Well, let me tell you something. What's that background? Oh,
What?
I thought I was hearing like some feedback or something.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, here's the thing about being poor. Like for your health, you will get a lot of health advice about what not to eat and what to eat. And if you're poor, you can't afford that advice. You can't
That's right.
afford not to eat carbs. You can't afford to you can't
Or go
afford
vegan. That's the biggest thing. Like, oh, there's no excuse to not go vegan. How about money?
Yeah, like look, I grew up an Orthodox Jew. All right. I'm not gonna go from like not eating pork to like not eating any meat just because like veganism is like a whole elitist thing in and of itself.
Like, if you want to go vegan, I'm glad you can do it. I'm
But it's
glad
not for
you are in the financial state of stability to do it. But
plus the mental
plus the mental
fortitude.
stability. But
Like my
no
dad's a
matter how
vegetarian.
good you got it, you have no right. You have no right to tell anybody else how to live because you don't know where they are.
Look, my dad's a vegetarian, not a vegan, but a vegetarian. He eats a lot of dairy and a lot of eggs and a lot of fish.
Right?
That's his protein. And by the way, like I'm not even sure how much fish he eats because lox is a luxury at this point.
I've always
Lox
thought,
gets expensive.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Like I think I have a package that I bought like a few days ago. Like that came close to $20.
Yeah, like
And it wasn't that much.
I have this small package that I bought like a few months back. I still haven't cut into because it's like a luxury. You
Throw it
can't
out.
eat that like regularly. What?
Throw it out.
No, it's still
A few
good. It's still good.
months.
Yeah, it's still good.
Okay. Okay.
No, that stuff as long as you refrigerate it, it lasts well.
Okay.
Now here's the thing with the rent, 40 times like the 40 times the rent rule.
Outdated.
A lot of what?
Outdated.
Not only that, but they'll apply it to rents that don't even make sense for it. Like I've been told by potential landlords for room rentals of $500, which are rare, by the way. It is rare to find a room for $500 a month in New York City. I found one for $675. And the guy said, I want like, do you make 40 times 675 a year?
Hell no.
And here's the thing: you do that math, it's like 27,000 a year. I make just under 20,000 basically. So that's 30 times the rent. But think about that. Because I don't make $27,000 a year, I cannot get an affordable room to rent. I'm currently paying $800 a month for a room that I've lived in for almost a year. I've been spending it for a year. I've been spending $800 a month for a year. Like when the pandemic happened, I was like living for a year, $800 a month. Prior to that, 3 months at $1,000 a month. I paid it consistently. I've never missed a rental payment of $800. $600 a month for rent would be so much easier for me. But I can't rent that because I don't make more money. Like who in their right mind?
That's the ironic thing. Like that's called affordable housing. Yet it's a requirement of this shitty landlord that you have to make $27K a year. At that point, it's not just one
landlord. It's not just one landlord. It's the standard. That's how fucked up it is. And not only that, a lot of affordable. Have you seen a lot of the ads for affordable housing these days? A lot of them requires one person to make $50,000 to $60,000 a year in order to get it. That's not affordable.
You can't make that with a retail job.
Yeah. And not only that, I've even had landlords say, "Oh, do you have a 680 credit score?" My credit is crap. Like I have like I am in the process of repairing my credit, and it is an arduous task because right now my lowest credit score is 575.
Mm-hmm.
And just a month ago, it was 525 or so, because I was able to do one thing that improved my experience score.
Right.
We'll do another episode on credit scores later, but right now my credit score is crap, and I'm
Yeah.
doing what I can to repair it.
Mm-hmm.
But think about that. You need a good credit score to rent an apartment? You need to make $27,000 to rent a crap room? Poor people are, this basically means that poor people are being priced out of affordable housing. And people have the audacity to say, "Oh, why are there homeless people? Why are there people out in the streets? Why is there a housing crisis?" Because it's all expensive.
Yeah. And
I mean,
no, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
And that all circles back to how expensive it is to be poor, and that is the fundamental thing that I absolutely despise about capitalism, is that success compounds. Like the most basic example I could give of what capitalism is: you want a thing, you buy it. And if you can't afford it, that means you don't want it enough. Like that's the most bare bones descriptor I can give it. And the problem with that is, let's say you have two people, again, kind of like the Buddha analogy. Let's say you have a guy that has $5 and a guy that has none. There's five, there's zero. That guy with $5 has a better chance of getting another $5. The guy with no money, his chance doesn't go up. And the more money person A gets, the more chance they have to get even more. So you got person A who is, just by luck of the draw, is getting more money. Meanwhile, you got someone that has no money who's not getting money at all.
And another thing to bear in mind is that, like, we're talking about $600, $800 room rentals. The going rate for rent in New York City goes anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a month for an apartment.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing about it. Oh my God, I'm having a massive brain fart. I apologize to my currently non-existent viewers, our currently non-existent viewers.
We'll get
That's the thing about capitalism. What Shane was saying and what I was saying, being poor is expensive. I think we can wrap up on that point.
Well, let's before we wrap up, like, when we say being poor is expensive, here's something we need to bear in mind. In New York, in order to survive a decent living without suffering terribly, you need to be able to take home about $45,000 a year after taxes. That means you have to make a salary of like $55,000 pre-tax in order to afford your basic expenses.
Minimum wage doesn't
So
do
basically, I'm sorry.
I said minimum wage doesn't do that. You cut out for a hot minute there.
So did you. I was saying that like in order to actually survive in New York, you need like a post-tax income, like after taxes, $45,000 a year. That's 55,000 pre-tax.
Yep.
And basically what that means, like with the income caps that we've shown with SNAP, and like the national premium average for healthcare is like $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And the cap for healthcare is for Medicaid is almost $1,800 a year. So that means you need to make like an additional 30,000 before you can afford healthcare. You know what that means? It means that poor people end up living like underground, basically. Like a lot of them,
Outside of
end
the
up
law.
a lot of them end up having to be forced to take cash income and then like underreported just so that they could have the benefits that they need, not want, need. They
Yeah.
need food. They need healthcare. They need housing, but they can't get it with the jobs that are available. So
Right.
they have no choice but to take cash income, underreport it, and then basically be able to get SNAP.
Right.
This is not an argument against SNAP or welfare. It is an argument for increasing the income caps and extending it basically to everyone. Basically, we can use EBT. With EBT, you get like this one debit card where they send you money and stuff every twice a month. You can buy groceries, you can buy basic expenses, you can get your UBI, you can get Medicaid. If we gave an EBT card to every American like we do a driver's license, like that would be the most palpable form of UBI. It would be
We'd
the most
become
basic.
the greatest nation on earth.
Yeah, like we'd be able to actually pay people in order to live.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't have these income caps.
Like that's the thing I want to wrap up on, is that if like let's say I'm talking to someone on the right, and if you're on the right, this message does go out to you. If you want to make America the greatest country in the world, support something that even slightly resembles what we're talking about, whether it be my idea of just general UBI taking over what already exists, like replacing what already exists, or something that Shane says about expanded EBT for every American.
Not just EBT, Medicaid.
Right, Medicaid as well. If you support that and you are part of putting that into practice, you will make America the greatest country on earth.
Like the reason we're
Guaranteed.
not the greatest country is because we have like such
Reason
crap
singular.
welfare. I mean, yeah, but like basically, like my mother was on disability. She had a car accident when I was a kid that wrecked her back, and she had to sleep on an armchair ever since. So she had to take disability, but that meant that she couldn't work a regular job. She had to take jobs under the books because disability literally forces you to live in abject poverty. Literally.
Right.
Like the income caps for disability are so low. We treat disabled people like shit. Like we force them to forfeit their disability benefits if they even get married. What the fuck is wrong with that?
That's right.
What the fuck is with that? I mean, look.
So before okay,
I'm just gonna say this. I know people who are living, like I have relatives who are living without health insurance because they got a raise from 30,000 to like 40,000 or so. They got a raise in their job that they wanted. But because of that raise, they became ineligible for health care. But they don't want to waste $500 on health care. So they'd rather go without health care than to take a pay cut. Like, what the fuck? Like they should keep that help the Medicaid.
Right. So I'm really going to put my foot down on this one. Moral of the story is being poor is expensive. Stop making people poor.
And
With
just expand welfare.
and expand welfare in some fashion. So that has been episode 4 of the Rejects of Capitalism podcast. My name is James Rooney.
And I am Shane Turner.
And you all have a good night.
See you next week, folks.